We go on to so that kind of we'll go on to a kind of Labour and Brexit question, which is what is Labour's Brexit position and what, in our opinion, should it be? So, Ellis, you want to go for this because, yeah,
Um, I would answer your question with a question. Well, no, with a statement and say I don't think Labour even knows what its Brexit position is anymore. It's just been horrendous. I don't. There's no direction at all, and we'll come. I think we'll come on to that a bit later on, about a lack of Labour direction. But it's like Labour don't seem to know. They kind of just vote. I think they. From what I see, I think Labour just want Brexit to be out of the news. I don't think they care for it anymore, and I think that's quite sad that they've kind of dropped such a prominent position they had, and it almost seems like they're like a Labour Brexit is just a Tory Brexit, and I'd be happy to be proved wrong, but it kind of seems like they don't care anymore.
yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I've not seen anything sort of policy wise what Labour would do differently. Keir Starmer voted for Boris Johnson's deal without even reading it, which I find really stupid. Like from whatever point of view you want to look at that from a political point of view where you're going to put yourself in this position where you can't criticize the Brexit deal because you voted for it, or kind of whatever other view you want to look at it, which is that you've just supported Boris Johnson achieve, Boris Johnson's goal for the last couple of years, like, is very stupid. I genuinely don't understand why he voted for Boris Johnson's Brexit deal, and it does very much feel like the Labour Party do want the Brexit to go as an issue because the problem is, and I think we'll talk about it a bit later, Labour don't know how to bridge the gap between red wall voters or, Brexit voters and also, sort of Remainers as well. They can't figure it out because whichever stance they take, they're kind of screwed because if they're trying to appeal more to Leavers, they'll hemorrhage voters potentially to the Lib Dems and the Greens. And if they don't appeal to kind of Brexiteers or that, group of people, then they lose out more to the Conservative Party. And because we don't have a PR system, we have a first past the post system, you have to win constituencies, and that's another problem where some of these people who do support Brexit live within the red wall and kind of other parts of England, whilst Remainers are, I think, predominantly in the south, right? So that's another issue kind of Labour has. They cannot figure out what they're meant to be, what people want enough, and it's just not working. They don't have any idea. There's no leadership. Even in, under Corbyn, 2019 they wanted a referendum on Brexit. That did not fly well with people. In 2017 they pushed for kind of a left exit of the EU, which I think if they ran on that in 2019 they would have done a lot better. They still had the problem of Boris Johnson having the withdrawal agreement, which Boris Johnson said was a Brexit deal, which we knew it wasn't true, but I feel like Labour always feel like they're walking on eggshells when it comes to Brexit, and they genuinely have no idea what to do. I don't know how much you agree or disagree with that.
The walking on eggshells point, I think, is a fantastic point, and I fully agree with that. I think it almost seems like they're too scared to say, in not just in Brexit, I guess in general, is that they seem too scared to do anything, And I'll probably mention this again later on, but was it Jonathan Ashworth who was on the news recently, and he basically didn't, was asked what Labour stood for, and he basically didn't answer it. People aren't expecting a full manifesto. They just want to know what the party stands for. You could literally just say, we stand for, integrity, just some really vague terms, but, equality, integrity, national pride, just rubbish like that. Just put some things out there. Don't just go, don't know, really. It's infuriating.
I mean, he could just say, look, we're going to look at getting SPS agreements because we want to sort out the issues with Northern Ireland because we don't want to see more violence there. Stuff like that, really, where, you can get sort of mutual agreements with the EU to resolve certain issues and keep our standards high, etc. You can even lie and say, look, we can get a trade deal with Australia whilst also keeping our food standards high, because no one's going to call you out on that lie, because you can just, like, when they're like, well, Boris Johnson can't get it, it's like, well, my name's not Boris Johnson, is it? I'd put a competent team in to get the deal through. I wouldn't sell out farmers like they are now. Like, you can kind of lie on this one. I'm not advocating it very much, but you can just say, look, I'll get a deal with New Zealand, no problem. We're not going to lower food standards or give them tariff-free access. We might look at lowering tariffs, but we're not going to give them absolute tariff-free access because we support our British farmers. Who's going to pull you up on that? Because they can't, unless they can enter the multiverse, they won't know you're not telling the truth, right?
Yeah, and and I think that's when you kind of had that political savviness of going, oh yeah, we'd do this, yeah, no problems, yeah, we'd do great things for the British
Yeah.
people and British farmers, and people would go, oh, they would do some good things for the British people. Actually, I saw it on the news. You have to plug that and say it over and over again, and I think with Brexit, like, there's a lot of Brexit fatigue, and I don't think that's a problem. I think that's okay. Like, you're allowed to be tired of you know, we've had 5 years of everyday Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. People are tired, and I think we could have done a lot differently from the Labour Party's point of view. But you know, whilst I understand we obviously need to get it through, obviously get everything resolved, you can still stand up for people. You don't have to go, yeah, agree with that, agree with that, agree with that. Yes, the majority of people did vote to leave the European Union. Fair enough. But you don't have to roll over and go, oh, well, the Conservative government said this is what they want to do, so we're going to agree. Like, no, say you don't like that. You can, you know, you can vote, you can keep, putting votes through to get us out of the European Union, but you can still make it good. Like, you can still make the best of a bad situation. It seems like Labour didn't want to do that, and it seems like Labour don't want to do that now.
So, what do you think, in your opinion, what should the Labour Party's Brexit position should be?
That's a tough one because from a me only point of view, I think just I would want to join back immediately. But I also realise how stupid that is from a political point of view. And I think you see, like, was it Andrew Adonis all the time? He's like,
Yeah.
oh, the campaign to join starts now. It's like, just accept that we lost. It's okay. I love the European Union. I would love to join back, but I also realise that people don't. People voted to leave. They want to leave, and I think Labour should focus on going. We didn't want, the majority of us of the party did not want to leave. However, we accept that the British people made this choice, and as such, we want to focus on making sure every deal we get with EU countries and non-EU countries alike is the best deal for the people of Britain, and focus on that idea that you're putting British people first. People will like that. Even people who voted to stay in the European Union, who want to join back, can go, well, at least they've acknowledged that they didn't want to leave. At least they're trying to make things better, and they could go, maybe one day we'll rejoin, but for now we're not going to comment on that, because that leaves that little bit of door open to people to go, oh, they did say they'd rejoin if they could, but it also doesn't open it too much for people to go, they just want to join the EU again.
Yeah, I think they could make the point that, look, we want to look at mutual options that are going to affect, help us and the EU together. I think what the Labour Party could do, I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but they could easily jack the Tory Party framing on a global Britain and say, look, they're doing trade deals that are selling the family China. We're not going to do that. We're going to get you trade deals with these countries, and we're going to get actual experts who understand how to do trade in order to get these trade deals, rather than selling out farmers and fishermen like they did with the trade and cooperation agreement. We're going to look at resolving these issues with the EU, looking at SPS agreements and whatever else we can do to fix the problems that we're having now. We're going to keep our high standards. Any kind of trade deals we do with other countries, it's going to be to our standards, not to theirs, regardless of who they are. And even if you get pulled up by a trade minister from another country, say if Australia's like, we wouldn't give them such a deal, all you have to say is, well, Australia would say that, wouldn't they? Because it's a negotiation. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, we'll give you everything you want from the start. Like, that's how negotiation works. Like, it's very hard to pull up someone on pull up someone as a liar, if it's a hypothetical, right? Because you don't know the arrangements Australia would sign up to if we played hardball with them instead of rushing a deal through to get it done before the G7. But the simple fact is, that's something the Labour Party should maybe start talking about. They could make the point that, yeah, we're going to have an SPS agreement, resolve the issues in Northern Ireland that Boris Johnson made. So that means that we do have to keep our standards high, because that's the nature of the SPS agreement. But what's wrong with having high standards? Britain, should have a proud history of high standards when it comes to farming. We don't want to have salmonella outbreaks like they constantly do in the US. We don't want people to get food poisoning, etc. We want to be a country of high standards where we want everyone to have our standards, because our standards are the best. We are Great Britain, some patriotic nonsense, blah, 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 etc., etc. I think that's what Labour's party policy should be, that yes, we want to be the best, we want to have the high standards, but when it comes to imports and doing trade deals, we want other countries to have our standards. Otherwise, we're not going to do business with them. I don't know. What do you think of that, Liz?
I think you've basically summed everything up there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know, I'd agree with everything. People can't call you a liar if it's not going to happen,
I
And
mean,
yeah, pushing that faux patriotic nonsense is kind of what people want. Say our standards are the best, yada yada yada. This is what we do, yada yada yada. Britain's great and seen. Like that does it. It's what people want to hear. Give them the fluff
yeah.
they want to hear, and then you might do well in the polls. And I guess we'll kind of come on to that with our
Last question,
well,
but
we've got two more, haven't we?
yeah, but
But
yeah.
they kind of both think. But
Sorry, I've interrupted you a bit there, but I'll just make the point that look, they're selling out the family China. They're the ones selling out this country. They claim they're patriots, but what kind of patriot sells out British farmers or British fishermen? You know, that's the points you need to make. But Starmer's so timid. He can't do it. We've always been the country of the worker, the country of the small business owner. And what are fishermen and farmers? Typically small business owners, right? Farming may be slightly different because they own a lot of land, but a lot of these farmers aren't rich. You could make that argument, but the Labour Party is just awful to the point where they want to pretend that, oh yeah, we're patriotic because we love the flag too. Like, no one believes that, and like you just look stupid when you're the second one running to the argument that the first person's made. It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, kind of. I guess as a summary, that point is exactly right. It's the they'll make a point, like the Conservatives will make a point that does well, and then Labour will go, yeah, we think that too. Like, yeah, we're going to put a flag up all the time. It's like, the point's been made. Do something different. Like, it's okay to admit they beat us to it. Just focus on getting the next win, and the win after that,
It's
and the
it's
win after that. Make them chase you, not you chase them. We're
it's
the
the
opposition.
it's the Duff Beer argument where I think it's Bill Clinton's like, or I think it was Bill Clinton is like, I like this beer, it's Duff Beer, and it's Nixon saying I also love this beer, and everyone's like, boo, you don't like Duff Beer. Like that's what the Labour Party looks like when when we say, oh, we love the flag too, we're patriotic. Look, I've got 50 flags behind me. He's only got one, and his one's really small. Like
Yeah,
it's just so dumb. But yeah, I think we've kind of rambled on ad nauseum about that question.